the main alluring factor. And it's not sexy, but it was like, hey, what do dentists make? What is the quality of life of a dentist? Like, what's the benefits of being a dentist? It was like, oh, owning your own business, make a decent amount of money. You can take time off.
This is Dental All-Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training. Here's your host, Alex Nottingham.
Hey everyone, welcome to Dental All-Stars and to Dental Practice Heroes podcast. I have Dr. Paul Etchison and I'm Alex Nottingham, and we're going to do a riff here together, a joint podcast, and the title is Origin Stories, and kind of introduce both of us. I think they're both great podcasts. I know mine is, and I love your podcast as well, and I love the heroes theme, so I'm big into superheroes. For those that are watching on YouTube, you can see I have my little Silver Surfer bobblehead I'm showing here. That's one. I have Ant-Man over here. That's two. And of course, my favorite, Superman. So we have Superman on the podcast. We have a lot of superheroes today on the podcast. So Paul, tell me about you. You're a wonderful dentist. You do dentistry, you do podcasts, you wrote a book, and a bunch of other things. So tell me about you and your origin story. What got you into dentistry and what got you into speaking and training and podcasting and writing?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story because nobody in my family is a dentist. And it was really, I don't think it was on my radar when I was in college. My original plan was to go into advertising, which is what I actually graduated with a major in. And, I had someone that I knew had known somebody. I'm from the Chicago area that knew someone at Leo Burnett Advertising Agency. I had this externship lined up. And then because of health reasons of the person that was getting me this externship, that fell through. And that I was like maybe a year and a half into the major at that point, kind of doing some introspection, being like, do I really even like this? Is this something I want to do? And then I thought I'd just kind of do a pivot. So like my grades were pretty good. I was like, man, maybe I could even go to like medical school, be like a doctor, or something like that. And then the idea of being a medical doctor just there was no luster to it. Every time I had an experience with doctors, it wasn't that great. Anytime in a hospital, it's just kind of dreary and just doesn't feel good. But then I went to the dentist that I was going to while I was in college, and it was great. I mean, everybody was having fun. It was a nice updated place. It was really comfortable. And it was very different from the dentist that I had growing up. So I started exploring that and just kind of did a pivot and said, hey, let's go dental. And I was already so far into my advertising degree that I had to take a lot of classes over, because I couldn't there was no overlap between advertising and dentistry. I still had to take all the science classes. So my last 4 semesters of school were a lot of credit hours. I remember being super busy. But then just kind of got into dentistry, and I'd say the main alluring factor, and it's not sexy, but it was like, hey, what do dentists make? What is the quality of life of a dentist? Like, what's the benefits of being a dentist? It was like, oh, owning your own business, make a decent amount of money. You can take time off. So as much as I wrote on my dental school entrance essay, it was about helping people and doing all this stuff, all that altruistic stuff. I would say my real motivation was not that. Now, however, fast forwarding, into dental school, I loved it. I loved dealing with the patients. I loved helping the patients. So that all came later, and I'm thankful that I actually did like that, because I went to school with a lot of people who did not like dentistry and were very kind of upset with their choice. And we see it on the internet and just the Facebook forums. A lot of people upset with their choice of becoming a dentist. But it just kind of led me to that. And I did a little associateship for about 2-3 years. Wasn't a very good associate because I wanted to do things my way, and just did a startup practice. Fast forward, we did startup practice 5 ops. Then we expanded into 11 ops, brought on some associate dentists, grew a really big office. Now we're about 11 years in, and eventually ended up selling and partnering with the DSO a few years ago. And now I'm just kind of working 4 to 6 days a month, 5-hour days, doing orthodontics on kids, and wow. Just leading my team, and and that's how I like it. And when I sold to the DSO, my original thing was that, hey, I'm going to exit. I'm going to go find something else to do. maybe I'll go back to school and just learn something else. I mean, I'll learn how to fix cars or go to culinary school, like more of like a passion project. But
Wow.
now since I've sold, it's really cool. And I've cut out my time at the practice. Not I'm still there. I'm still present. I'm not an absentee owner by any means, but I've got a great team that's running everything, and I really like how it is. I'm coming up on the end of my contract with the partnership in about 4 months. And like I said, my original intentions was to leave, but I have no intentions of leaving. I really like how my life balance is now and what I'm doing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But I mean, as far as the podcasting, writing the book, I just felt like I had a lot to say, and it was just, part of me just going through life was like, man, could I do that? That sounds like unattainable. Well, let's try to do it anyway, because I wanted to do some big stuff and big goals, and writing a book was one of them. And then after that came the podcast. And then later down the line, 5 years later, came the second book that just came out maybe 5-6 months ago. And yeah, that's about it. I just love speaking. I love talking to new dentists. I love teaching people. I love organizing thoughts. And I really love the business aspect of dentistry. I
Business
do
of
very
dentistry.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my origin story is somewhat reversed. My father is a dentist. He retired, but he does some part-time work, and he loves being a dentist. Yes, he enjoys the money, but it was just dentistry from the beginning. He knew it, he loved it, and he was amazing at it. I mean, from the beginning, he was a Pankey trained dentist. He did work with Extreme Makeover. And ever since I was a little kid, though, he said, don't be a dentist, because at that point, they weren't making money. And even now, if you're not good at business, you're going to struggle to make a paycheck unless you're working
True.
for a DSO or corporate. It's tough. And so he saw all of his friends making money. He says, Alex, be a lawyer or be a business person or something. And so I didn't. I admire my dad. He's my best friend. And I went to law school, got my law degree, got my MBA. I ended up working for Tony Robbins. I became one of his top coaches, business coaches. And so my goal was to run a big corporation or start my own business. And I did start my own business. What was interesting is, as I was working for Tony, my father's business was facing bankruptcy. I mean, he brought in the wrong partner, and his office manager was my godmother. She lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit cards. And so I asked if I could help. And what I did is I took over the marketing. This was before SEO was cool. And we were ranking on top of everything. I did it myself. And we were getting a lot of patients to call, but they weren't converting. So my wife now, but at the time my girlfriend, she worked for Bloomingdale's, Kate Spade. She was a manager. And I took her from there and I brought her into the dental office because they weren't converting all the marketing I was doing. And sure enough, we took a $1 million practice, brought it to $2.4 million in 18 months.
Wow.
And he was working on heads of state, all full mouth reconstruction. And he was really, really happy. And he was able to sell his practice for a nice sum later. And that's what motivated me to then say, okay, that's what got me into dentistry, is that I had this thought, okay, if I could help my father, then who I love and I care, and all dentists, even like yourself that got in for a business aspect too, they all have a good heart, right? Because you got to have some heart and care to do well in dentistry. And my goal was to help dentists be better at business, help run their business, and do what we did there. So we took the phone skills from my wife, her training from Bloomingdale's. We brought Larry Gazzardo in to do the scheduling training. I did the business training. And since then, we've added some amazing coaches and associates. We're business partners with the Academy of General Dentistry and the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. And so it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing this for 10 years, and it's a passion for me to help other dentists, because every one of you is like my father, a family member. And it's really fun. And I resonate with you because I love variety. I don't think I've ever had a 9-to-5 job, because my father's he's always been impressed with entrepreneurs. So he's always wanted me to do that. So I've always been into creating things and creating businesses. And so I love variety. I love freedom, and financial freedom. And I'm grateful. I know you and many others, we've all been able to achieve financial freedom. And it's great to do that, because then you can follow the things that you love to do. And that's the goal of All Star Dental Academy: customer service, and to help dentists give that business aspect that we all speak about. Because as a dentist, you've been through there, how important customer service, business training, and helping to lead their team is really vital. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that you bring that up because it's one thing that I think a lot of dentists miss is that we just open our practice, we hire people, and we tell them the bare minimum of what they need to do. And this is what we need to do to keep the patients moving through the office. But then, as you noticed, and I think a lot of this is a big part of my success at my practice was our SEO. We were one of the first people doing that, and we were the first people in our area really going, hey, let's get reviews. Can you write us a review? Please write us a review. And I mean, I remember being at like weddings and like family parties and being like, hey, you got a Gmail account? They're like, yeah. I'm like, give me your phone. Let me write a review for my practice. Like this is like when it started, like, and so when somebody typed that in, like our town is New Lenox, they'd see us, see all the reviews. Why would you pick something else? But then you notice like, what's the next step down the line? Well, then it's the phone call. If you're getting phone calls and people aren't converting, now where do we look? Then we look at the phone call. Then we look at the phone skills. And then if they bring them in and they're not having a good experience, then we look at the patient experience stuff. And then if they're not saying yes to treatment, let's look at the financial presentation. Let's look at how easy we're making the options. So there's so many parts of this. I think sometimes we make it look easy, but there's so many little parts that you can train your team on that I think are just great. And to follow up with what you said about the financial freedom thing, I'm there now. I'm 41. I guess I was there at 39, but I always said I was going to leave the practice, like I said. And what's cool about when I'm at the practice now is I want to be there because I know I want to be there because I know I don't have to be there.
That's
and
right.
It's a different feeling. I had a hernia surgery that I'd take 2 or 3 weeks off. And then I went to the Bahamas and then I came back and I got COVID. So I was
Ooh.
off for 5 weeks. And you can only watch so much Netflix. And I mean, there was days I didn't get out of bed till like 2, 3 in the afternoon. And I was like, gosh, this would be like my retirement. Like, I don't want to do this. I wanted to go back to the practice. And that was kind of like a awakening for me. Like, man, I really like it here. This is great. Like, I love being part of this team. I love the people that work for me. I love being part of the actionable items and the vision making and like, let's do something great. Let's try something. I love training people. So I totally resonate with all that stuff. But I just want to like bring out what your point is. There's so many training opportunities and so many little elements that go into a great practice that can help you achieve that financial freedom at someday being a dentist, which is great about being a dentist.
Well, I like what you're reading from the book. I mean, and you don't know the inside of All Star, but you're reading exactly it because it's not, I talk often about it. We're modeling the best in business. It isn't just dentistry, because I think what makes us unique a little bit is I don't come from dentistry. I'm not a dentist besides my dad. So I look at what are the best businesses doing. And that's what you're talking about. We're talking about step one, marketing, right? And that's somewhat easy. Well, it's the easier part because you can just hire somebody to do good marketing. Yes, I think it was amazing what you did because my family is all doctors. And they think that if I'm the best, it will just work out. Everybody will come to me. It doesn't work that way. Yes, if you provide amazing patient experience and take care of your patients over time, 5, 6 years, you will never have to market. People will just refer. I get it.
Right.
But you have to, but that requires an amazing team and but you provide that insurance, not real insurance, but just that effect by investing in marketing, investing in your team, okay, doing those areas. But if you can't convert the phone call, that's our thing, is converting phone calls. And then you're right. After that, do they show up for their appointment? I have what I call the business growth formula. So you have to have some input, marketing or insurance if you take insurance. You got to convert the patient to a phone call, from a phone call. They have to show up. Hopefully they accept treatment, and hopefully they refer. That's it. That's how you make money. And all those areas to look at. The other thing that I think, this is the elephant in the room. I would say the two hardest things for dentists are their own mindset, okay, and making sure, very important from the business side, that they don't get into areas they don't know. They invest in things that they don't know and I pick up my father because he's invested in he's lost a ton of money. And so he's made some money. Thank goodness he made a lot of money as a dentist, but he, lost half of it in investing. That's number one. But you have to also motivate your team. You have to be able to work with your team. The ADA states that staff-related issues are the biggest issue facing dentists in terms of stress. And right now we see hiring is an issue as well. And I don't know if I told you, but we also have a hiring service because of that to help people hire. But you gotta, it comes natural to you, Paul. I mean, I can see you have that business mind, right? I really do believe that you were probably born that way. Others have to work harder. Your compatriots. It's work to be able to be. So any advice you'd have for dentists to get out of their way to be better at business and better at working with their team?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like you mentioned, it did come somewhat natural. I mean, I like to think that I put in, I think what comes natural to me is this kind of my thought process is that where are we getting stuck here? I mean, you mentioned like got to get the phone call and then are they showing up? We had a period in my practice where patients were not showing up and we're like, well, what is going on? Well, let's look at it more. Let's see who's not showing up. Are they scheduling online or are they actually having a phone call? And what we found was that it was a majority of them were scheduling online. So then we had somebody start reaching out to them. Hey, we're going to see you next week. Do you have any questions for your appointment? And so it's like I'm always looking at what is the issue and how can we work past it. For someone who maybe these skills and that kind of thought process doesn't kind of come naturally, I think you can rely on your team to some extent. And I think a lot of us as dentists, we don't want to rely on our team. We don't trust our team to do things. And we don't really get out of the way and give them the autonomy to make decisions. And one of the, I'd like the interpersonal things, like you mentioned, the staff struggles, interpersonal drama between team members. That was my department for the longest time. That has not been my department for over 3 years. And I have a clinical manager there that handles all that. She was my lead assistant for a long time. And then we just kind of gave her the new title clinical manager because she was just doing it. She liked doing it. She's like, I'll take care of it. Do you want to know what's going on? And I'm like, if you don't think I need to know, don't tell me. And it took so much stress off my plate, but it was possible for me to allow someone to do that. And so what I would say to someone who's thinking, well, I can't have what I hear on the podcast. I can't have what that other person has. You can, there is a way. And I would say every single roadblock that was a big, oh, we can't do that at my practice, such as pre-collecting to schedule an appointment or going out of network with Delta or me getting out of the way and me not even stopping in the practice for 5 weeks at one point. Everything has been possible. And there's always been a part of me that's like, we can't do that. And we always seem to figure out a way to do it by looking at, well, what's keeping us from doing it? What is the issue that's coming up and how can we solve it? And as much as I'd like to say I'm the brains behind it all and I solve every problem, I have a team that I'm asking questions to. Hey, they're on the front lines. What's going on? What's the breakdown here? How come this isn't working? Why aren't we doing the system we came up with? Is it because we don't believe in the system? Is it because the system doesn't work? Do you have any ideas of what we can do better? Asking my team, what frustrates you? What is one thing that frustrates you at this office? Oh, nothing. Everything's great here. Well, think of one thing. Give me one thing that frustrates you. And just taking this information from the people on the front lines and the collaborating. All right, what can we do about it? What do you think we can do about it? And then just freaking execute. Do it. Go out there and do something and know that you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep moving forward. You can always pivot. You can always reevaluate. You can come back and say, how is this working? What's not working? Hey, what do you guys think we could do better about this? Why isn't this working? You don't have to have the answers. You just have to engage a team on the discussion and lead that collaboration. And eventually you'll get a practice culture like mine where you just walk in and there's new systems. You don't know where they came from. There's documents, there's flow charts. I'm at the point where I come in my practice and there's new people that I didn't even hire. I didn't even know we were starting somebody else. They get hired, they get trained. My team fires people without my, I usually give the blessing when they fire somebody. I always say they don't do that without my approval, but they hire without my approval. So it's like you get a team this is how you get a team run practice is you start letting your team run it and you get out of the way and you check in, you support, but you're not abdicating. You're not just getting out of the way and just running away, but you got to still be part of it. But yeah, I mean, just to sum up, I'd say anything is possible. There is a way to do it. You just have to be super intentional and you have to keep on working on it. Because it's not hard to work on it, but it's not hard to not work on it. It's just as easy to not do it and get complacent and get burnt out and get tired and just want to go home and just forget about it. So Yeah, that's how I'd say. Anything is possible, and you can learn anything. It just takes the time.
Every great business book on leadership will say that the buck always stops with you. It's always you. And I think you're right. We have to accept a responsibility as a leader. The dentist has to accept the responsibility and embrace that. And first realize that they are the entrepreneur. They are the visionary of the practice, whether they like it or they don't. So at least you can embrace it. And it's amazing how much is mindset. And it's really interesting. In our mastermind group, it's so funny because we talk about marketing, management, what have you, and it always comes back to mindset. It always comes back to your perspective, your vision, and how dedicated you are to do it. And when I hear you, it seems like you were very clear on your vision and what you're looking to create. The other thing is humility. And remember, a lot of dentists, they're built more engineer-like than perhaps myself and you, and less inflexible. We follow a formula and it always works. It's not business. Business is impersonable. It's personable. It's in person. It fluctuates. It's fluid. And we have to have a great humility, and we have to be able to listen to who's doing what, and not so much about envy or jealousy, but what are they doing? What's their model? Try to reverse it. What are they doing? How are they speaking? How do they work with their team? What's my issue? And who's the best in the business? And not just what are they saying, what are they doing? And so that's very important. And the other area is, like you were mentioning, we have to know what we're strong at, what we're not strong at. For example, I am a pure visionary. I finally realized this a few months ago. I would call myself the CEO and founder. Forget all that. Throw that out. Doesn't mean anything. And I'm nobody's boss at All Star Dental Academy. I'm just a visionary. I create the vision. They tell me what to do. Again, but I have people in the company, and I'm very clear. I'm not the boss. It's you. You make the decision. I'll do what you say because you're better at that. I have people that kind of run the operations, and they look to me. I say, I provide the vision, but I'll take orders from you. Tell me you're brilliant. That's why I brought you in for this. You're part of the team. So you come in and you have to empower the people. You got to be able to watch that yourself, and have the humility and model the best. The other thing is surrounding yourself with mentors and coaches. And that makes a big difference. I'm sure you're the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the time with. So I'm curious who you spend most of your time with talking about your business. Are you going to study clubs where everybody's bitching about their practice? Or are you being coached? Are you working in a mastermind group? Are you going to events? Are you talking to business owners? Are you on Paul's show, my show? Are you listening? Are you engaging? Where are you? Or are you on the forums secretly criticizing people? Like, where are you? Where are you? It can be done. And it really can be. And as you grow yourself, you then grow your team. Because it's interesting. I see these great teams. And there's always a great doctor. And what I mean by great doctor is they're humble, they're supportive, they coach, they take their teams to events, they invest in their team. It's just phenomenal. And they always say, oh, man, I got lucky with my team. They tell me, I got so lucky. You didn't get lucky. And they won't admit it. And that's good for them. That's the humility. But they always say, I'm lucky, I'm blessed, and it's all about them. And you watch all these great athletes. We talk about one theme is superheroes, but you see athletes, the top athletes that lead their team. When the team loses, whose fault is it? Paul?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's the team leader. They always say it's me. And when the team wins, who won?
The team.
The team. It wasn't me. I could have played better, but they carried me. Even they scored 80 points. That's a great leader. It's never about them. It's always pushing it back to their team.
Yeah. And it's so true you can do so much with an empowered team. And people come in my practice and they say the vibe is different. They feel it when they walk through the door. And we almost went like 9 years without a single turnover, which was crazy. But I mean, these past like 2 years ever since COVID happened, this is just a different world. I guess different labor market. I can't say that I've had no turnover yet because this has been a wild year. But but it's like one of those things that the leadership to the leader, the humility of the leader. I always see a lot of dentists. they like to point fingers, they like to criticize, they like to put blame, they don't like to take the blame. And this is all this kind of locus of control stuff, internal locus of control. Do I believe that I can control my destiny and what happens around me? Can I take ownership for everything in the practice? And when things happen at your practice, or if you're just like I mentioned, you're talking to your team, say what frustrates you. I think the knee-jerk reaction for most dentists is to get defensive and to try to find out whose fault it is and try to point out whose fault it is and go to that person and say, hey, you got to stop doing this. Why are you doing it like this? You're doing it wrong. You're making mistakes. You're letting your team down. And when I have issues at my practice, we always say grace over guilt. We say, I don't care whose fault it is. This happened. We dropped the ball on a patient. What can we do so this never happens again? What kind of system can we create that there's a backstop for the system so that it doesn't happen again? And, things happen all the time. Like I have coaching clients and they say, I can't believe you're still having issues. Throughout this many years of your practice and all your systems, you still have issues and you still drop the ball. Of course, there's humans, where we make mistakes, but that's okay to make mistakes. And if you make making mistakes okay, then you will reap the benefits of having a team that's willing to bring those mistakes to you and help make it so they don't happen again. I've had portions of my career where, I'm the most detached from the front office. That is just, I'm not up there. I'm in the back working with the hygienists and the assistants. I'm up there kind of just asking them how things are going, but sometimes I'm not up there that often. And I've noticed that sometimes when there's a lot of issues in the front office, some can go for a long time without me finding out about them. And that bothers me. But I know that's because the relationship with me in the front office is not as strong as it is within the back. Issues in the back, I find out about them right away. And I think it's that a lot of the people in the front, they maybe haven't been working with me as long. Maybe we don't have such a strong relationship as I do with the people in the back, but they don't want to bring me things. They don't want to let me know what's going on. They're letting their team lead know, and the team lead's kind of handling it. But sometimes things go unresolved for a while, and then I find out about it, and then I'm kind of upset about it. I'm just like, man, why didn't anyone tell me? How long has this been going on? Months? And so that's just a testament to showing like the relationship is important, and preserving that relationship by not pointing fingers and making people feel, you got to make people feel safe at your practice, safe in the organization to bring things to you, and safe to make mistakes, because that's the big part. Because if you think you as a leader don't make mistakes, man, I can't tell you how many times I could go, man, just talking about situations where I thought I was going to conflict resolution this like a master, and I just screwed it up so big, and everybody's conflict became my conflict, and everyone was mad at each other, and then by the end they were all mad at me, and they're all banded against me. Like, man, like what the heck? Like, just handle things poorly. But you got to ask for forgiveness. You got to give forgiveness too. So I think that's a big thing that we overlook a lot as practice leaders.
Well, I think adding to what you're saying, I think in being a coach, it's also just recognizing, or thought leader or speaker or trainer, is that we're in the ring fighting. Look, we're out there, and it's part of being vulnerable versus criticizing. It's very easy to criticize versus just go out there and give it your best shot, and you fall down, you get back up. I was also thinking about, I was interviewing our director of recruitment or hiring, and I was thinking about the word hiring versus recruitment. And they're synonymous when you look on the surface of it. But the word recruitment is to bring somebody to your cause. And I did a whole podcast about that. And I think that's really where I would leave this kind of discussion with dentists as you're building your team, and think about your cause. And we talk about the vision, but recruit people to your cause. So you're not hiring somebody. You're not giving them a job title. Well, you are, but I'm saying go deeper where you're bringing them to your cause, to your mission. So we're going to battle together, or we're going to make a difference together, and we're rallying behind customer service. We're rallying behind something, but it's bigger than yourself. One thing I loved about Tony Robbins, working with him, whether you like him or not, he was maniacal about the vision. And it was bigger than him. It was never about him. He talks a lot. He has to. He does a lot of events. But when you listen, it's never about him. It's always about this mission. And it's almost comical. He's so about it. And that's what you got to be about. What do you stand for? And when you interview people, you're saying, we're bringing you part of what we're looking to do, not you're filling a role. You're not a cog. And that's important in this new economy, because the new generation wants to be part of something. They don't just want a job. They want to go in there and say, I made a difference in this world. And if we can speak to that need that they have, we will be able to recruit better people. So Dr. Paul Etchison, I really appreciate us being able to banter together. And what I like to do is in both of our show notes, I like to put some resources. We put some links to Dental All Stars, to Dental Practice Heroes podcasts. You have some great books. We can put a link to that. I have a webinar that I do. We can put a link to that. So we'll put a whole bunch of links in the podcast so you can get to know my buddy over here, Dr. Paul. And it's cool because some of your guests have been on my show and on yours, and it's like it's great, and our students. So it was a lot of fun, Paul. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This was great. Yeah, we should do it again.
We'll do it. So go ahead and so what I normally do when I end is, first of all, I tell everybody, hey, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube to both of us. Subscribe to our channels on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And also, I'll end with go out there and be an all-star. And I can also say go out there and be a dental practice hero too.
There you go. Love it.
See you later. Bye, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.